of the Indian economy, that we are, because we are growing rapidly right now, we are importing more than we export. So by and large, we are not contributing to global imbalances. On the other hand, we are contributing to global demand because our demand for goods and services is growing. As we sustain these growth rates of 8 to 10%, the opportunities for productive engagement, trade and investment will continue to grow exponentially. In the field of investment, we are seeing that flows now are in both directions. And again, this is a new phenomenon because Indian companies earlier were constrained by our balance of payments restrictions because we didn't have enough foreign exchange since we weren't a very large exporting country, and we had certain fixed costs of imports by way of oil and gas, which we are dependent on imports for. So there were restrictions on Indian companies investing abroad. But with the reforms, we've seen our foreign exchange reserves increase. Now they are in the region of $280 billion, 290 sometimes. It varies month to month. And that has given us the confidence to relax the conditions for investment by our companies. So now we are seeing Indian companies investing in the United States, and in Minnesota itself we see Mittal Steel, we see Essar, then we see Suzlon and Wipro as an example of investments by Indian companies across a range of sectors, from steel to renewable energy to IT. And we see this trend continuing now because Indian companies are increasingly looking to position themselves in the global economy. They're not content to be just in the domestic market. And we've seen also that when these companies invest abroad, they don't do it for the purpose of eating up the competition and closing the company that they bought. They do it to enhance their strategic competitiveness. So they stay with the company, they integrate it into their global platforms, and that helps to provide materials and services for, say for instance, the domestic market or other global markets, and at the same time prosperity in the place in which they are investing. So the market is likely to grow. It's going to be one of the big growth markets of the future based on this kind of economic growth that we're seeing. That's the third reason I would give, because one is the scale, the second is the high rate of growth, and the third, riding on that high rate of growth, is the projected expansion of the market in India. At present, the market has been somewhat immature in the sense it's shallow and it's just beginning to grow. So the potential for exponential growth is quite high. If from, say, the middle class increases from 300 million people to 500 million people, you're looking at a huge leap in the number of consumers. And of course, that market may not be at the level, consuming level of Western markets, because while our economy will be large, per capita incomes will still be modest compared to Western levels or developed country levels. But you will have a segment which consumes, a very rich segment, which will consume on Western levels. Then you'll have a broader middle class which will have consumption at more modest levels, but will look to buy houses, consumer goods, and things, cars, automobiles. And then you'll have a lower middle class segment which will be buying goods of a different nature, including fans, sewing machines, two-wheeler scooters and things like that. So you will have a market where the potential for growth is enormous, and where, because of acceleration in the economy overall, we are going to see more people being pulled into the middle class with more purchasing power. So again, that would be a reason to look very closely at strategies which incorporate the Indian market into your global perspectives and your global planning. Finally, I would say that India will have a demographic dividend because such a large portion of our people are young. In fact, even looking into the future, we are going to have the percentage of the population which will be below the age of 30 years, that is a working age population, will be quite high. And this is the kind of demographic youth bulge which in other economies has led the drive towards economic growth. So this is something we expect will be an energizer of both growth and consumption in the Indian market in future. Finally, of course, is the shared values that we have with the United States. We are a democracy like the United States. We can very much understand your sentiments of supporting the nation but looking at the local, because that's what we do in India. We have the central government, we have state governments, we have cities, we have villages. And of course, since we were also talking about women, I think increasingly more women participating, particularly in grassroots level politics, because our local government bill provided for reservation of 30% of seats in the local bodies for women. So 1 million women have been brought into public life in villages and city councils across the country. And that is making a huge change as we go forward. So for all these reasons, I think that the opportunities for trade and investment between India and the United States, between India and Minnesota, will be very promising in the future. I think finally I should mention one other factor which will facilitate this interaction, and that is the very vibrant Indian American community that we have in the United States and that you have in Minnesota here. Wherever I go across the length and breadth of this country, I find that there are talented, ambitious, hard-working people from India who have made America their home and are contributing to growth and prosperity here, but also to change and prosperity back in India. And they are an enormously valuable bridge between our two countries, bringing our cultures closer, making our countries familiar with each other. In fact, now in India, I think America has never been as popular as it is now. I think more than 70% of people at any given time have a favorable opinion of the United States. And in this process, the Indian American community, the fact that there's not a middle class family in India which won't have some personal connection to the United States, this has made an enormous difference. And this is what will sustain the relationship and be a key driver in the future. Our relations at a government-to-government level have been growing. We have a strategic partnership. Prime Minister Singh was the first state guest of President Obama in Washington, and we hope to host President Obama later this year when he visits India. I think the relationship as we see it is one which is crucial for India's development and for building regional and global peace and security. Thank you.